Welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Fireside Chat series with security leaders from some of the world's largest enterprises to discuss cybersecurity strategies. This event is brought to you by Quantic Business Media, and I'm your host, Raygan Flores, Head of Sales at Secure Code Warrior. At Secure Code Warrior, our vision is to inspire developers to embrace a preventative, secure coding approach that enables every team to ship quality software with confidence. We are the leader in championing change by putting humans at the heart of secure coding. It is with great pleasure that I welcome today our guest speaker, Mr. Firoze Hussain, who is the Chief Security Officer at Delhivery. Firoze, how are you? Glad to have you with us, and welcome.
Evening. So it's evening in India. Thank you very much, Raygan and Flores. It's really nice to be on this. It's been a long journey for me in the security industry. I'm currently Chief Security Officer at Delhivery Private Limited, which is one of the largest e-commerce 3PL logistics platforms. We do something like, we've just done a billion shipments, completed our billionth shipment. I think it was just about 2 days back. Yeah. So and that's when the journey is hardly about 6, 7, 8 years from the time we started, and we've done the billionth shipment. So the Delhivery is basically a e-logistics. We work with all the, whether it's Flipkart, Amazon, or all the e-commerce companies.
Right.
We also do what is called as the trucking, which is about 6,000 trucks, 60,000 people, 3,200 warehouses, 18,000 pin codes all over India, something like 22 high-speed sorting machines. And I would say most important is the people, which is 60,000 people picking up and delivering stuff from whether it is from China, doing the cross-border, or delivering it into a remote village in India, whether it's the COVID time or anything else. Considering that a company has to be resilient, that's what we are trying to do, especially right now. It's a very trying time here in India with the COVID situation. And we're still doing our best, and things are going pretty well. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction, Firoze. Now, the topic of today's discussion is about changing roles of security professionals in today's era. And in your role as a Chief Security Officer, you, Firoze, comes with a wide array of experience across multiple roles in the security industry throughout your career, from being a former police superintendent to now being a Chief Security Officer in the corporate, from a startup to Delhivery, which is India's leading fulfillment platform for digital commerce. Talk to us about this journey, and we would love to hear about your journey from being police superintendent to now leading Delhivery.
Yeah. Well, when I was young, the uniform really, you admire policemen, you admire them, that whether they're standing on the crossroad of a traffic junction or something, because they are all powerful. They can stop your car, they can stop you from crossing the road also, and they can decide whether to let you go or not. So that was an ambition which I had from childhood, that I must get into the uniform and do something for the people. So that's how I wrote the civil services exam. I'm basically an engineer, electronics engineer by qualification as such, but in India, it's a pretty tough system by which people get into the police services, which is a very highly competitive exam, both an exam and a physical test and things like that. So anyway, so that was about 9 years in Pondicherry, where I got trained all across both India in cyber security, in various types of other investigation methodologies. Luckily, I got an opportunity to also get trained with the FBI and with the San Francisco, some of the Coast Guard teams in the U.S. So that was a good experience to learn that security, one should not look at it from one single perspective. That's very important. I mean, even if you are a cop on the street, you have to look at everything from different angles. There could be an old lady who needs help to cross the road, so that needs a totally different approach. And there could be a criminal trying to probably mug somebody of his cell phone or something like that, or of his wallet. So that requires a totally different approach. Of course, then there's the gender diversity and gender sensitivity approach, which means how do you handle women-related issues. So I would say that right from the beginning, I got this experience that one has to look at every kind of problem with a different focus. One cannot look at everything from the same lens, and the solutions of it also is very different. So that was as far as the policing is concerned. In the corporate field, because mainly I was interested in doing a lot of innovations. So even in the police, way back we had started things like a kiosk at a bus stand and something like that. Now at that time, people told me that was many years back. People told me that nobody would leave a kiosk at a bus stand. Probably they would just bust the screen of it or something like that. But we were very surprised that when we installed it, I mean, the public was really happy, and a lot of school kids. That was about 15, 20 years back. School kids used to come there, and they used to even send emails from that, because we had made it a sort of a public platform from where somebody can also send messages and things like that. So we saw that people were really interested and very cooperative. So that's one thing. The most important thing is that you should feel that the other side wants to cooperate and wants to solve the problem, rather than thinking that it's I who am trying to solve it and the other person is trying to stop me from it. So that's an attitude and approach which is very important. If you're going to take a collaborative teamwork approach, you will get a lot more success. So as far as the corporate field is concerned, what I realized is working with all the stakeholders, whether it's from the clients or the vendors or your own internal stakeholders. You have so many different people in your own stakeholders. So that role, you have an initial what is called a guarding role and things like that. I think now in today's world, with all the CCTV, we have 32,000 cameras in Delhivery. So probably nobody's interested into having a guard itself, because we have so many more eyes looking at everything that there's no need for the guard. The next thing is that you still need people, because you need smart people to be able to quickly identify and respond and look at solutions. True. So that's where I guess the change has happened, and we're all looking forward to sort of develop people, and with the help of certifications, whether it's the ASIS certifications of CPP, PSP, and retail certification, things like that, so that the team gets prepared to be able to respond to situations and new problems which come up every day. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you for those insights, Firoze. You started talking about identifying the right stakeholders, right? That's one very important piece. Speaking about that, what are the key ingredients for success? When building a security strategy, when the ever-changing landscape in the security, through this journey in your career, what would you say are the important ingredients for success?
Sure. I think we must learn a lot from the COVID. The COVID has taught us that all of us have to wear masks, whether it's men or women or children or just anybody, we have to wear masks. Maybe a few years back, if somebody would have told us that everybody is going to be wearing masks, we would have just never believed it at all. Now, today, that's a reality. So I think the most important thing is being able to change and be flexible in your approach and scalable. So you keep thinking that, or keep anticipating, keep predicting, keep proactively trying to think as to what are the changes which are going to happen and stay ahead of the curve. Because if you're behind the curve, what is happening is that it's such a sharp, a V curve versus a U curve versus various other kinds of curves have been promulgated now. But if you're just slightly behind of it, you would probably fall off the cliff and you're absolutely down. So you should try always to be ahead of it. And the next thing is to be scalable. The new journey is to make it, whatever you're doing, do it so that you could probably apply it to 1 million packets or a billion packets. Most of the people, when trying to implement something, whether it's in a warehouse or whether it's in a truck or whether it's in a fulfillment center, they look at the problem and they solve it. But if you look at it from the perspective that this has to be implemented maybe over 1,000 warehouses, or how I would do it if maybe in 5 years hence the company would be in maybe 3x or 4x of its size, then it really brings in the value of what you're doing. Thank you so much. And the problem is also, see, I mean, as far as the cyber landscape is concerned, every day you're being hit with something new, what you've never anticipated. So unless you develop that attitude in your people and you keep working in that method, you would fall off the cliff. Thank you.
Very, very good insights there. Thank you for that, Firoze. We started talking about the ingredients for success. Naturally, we cannot go without talking about the pitfalls. You know, what are the red flags? What throughout your career would you have said these are the things that in designing a cybersecurity strategy, in creating a cybersecurity strategy, these are the things that you need to watch out. These are the pitfalls, and these are the red flags that you need to. Any advice on that? Any insights on that?
Sure. See, the best way is to have a strategy itself that 80-20 rule. 80% you will succeed, 20% you will not succeed, whatever you do. I mean, if you're doing 100 activities, if you want all 100 of them to be perfect and you want to succeed in all 100 of them, then I can bet the organization is not going to grow more than maybe 1 or 2% growth rate. But if you want to have a growth rate of maybe like how the startups are managing to do and how various entrepreneurs are taking the companies forward, what has to be done is that you have to allow for failures. Allowing for failure encourages people to sort of understand the problem and be ready to take some risk, a calculated risk. It's not that you have a controllable risk and you have an uncontrollable risk, things like that. So once you start doing that, then basically the various pitfalls and the red flags which keep coming in, you'll be able to see them along the way, because you would have done something which is experimental. And when you do something which is experimental, whether it's a physics experiment, which we've done in class 9 or class 10 or a chemistry experiment, I mean, it's bound to happen that you probably create something else from what you like in a chemistry experiment. So if you're doing it in that methodology, the chances are that you would have some pitfalls, which you have created yourself by your own experimental methodology. But the benefit of that will be that you would come to know of some things proactively, which many others would be far too behind in the curve because they've never sort of dared to swim in the ocean. They've always been swimming in a pond. So you've got to get out of swimming in the pond to getting into the ocean. The ocean is rough, I mean, you have high tide, you have low tides and things like that. So it's not predictable, unlike a pond, which is very predictable, still water. And in the real life environment, it's always the ocean. And if you're experienced in that, you'll always come out the winner. Thank you.
Interesting insights again, Firoze. As Chief Security Officer, I'm sure you have a lot of things on your plate with you're handling multitude of cybersecurity concerns arising in the current times. How do you prioritize?
Sure. Cybersecurity is definitely a cause for concern, because especially we have data of various companies in our, finally, because we are delivering for so many companies on behalf of so many companies. We also have data of PII, which is called personal identifiable information of so many people, because we would be delivering to them in particular time slots, particular places, particular cell phone numbers, and timings and references, and what is the item which they are ordering. We would be having knowledge of all that, and basically the database would have it. So yes, so you basically need to prioritize around 2-3 aspects. One is, what is the most critical data which can cause you the maximum harm if it's sort of goes out of control. Now, in the cyber world, it's well known that you can't keep everything absolutely 100% watertight. So you decide, first of all, as to what are the things which are totally critical. Focus a lot of energy to not just encryption. People get after various technologies, to achieve a result. But the way I look at it is not just the tools and techniques we use. I would look at it, if you go ahead and collaborate with the various stakeholders who are using that data and who are playing it around, and work with them also. Finally, the tools and techniques will give you far more success than you would have imagined, because it's just that saying that an operator on the ground would be having a lot of access. And if you would build certain safeguards and SOPs around working and things like that, you would be able to sort of prevent a catastrophe from happening. So that's where I say it's not just tools and techniques, it's also the people working with the stakeholders, working with whether it's external stakeholders or internal stakeholders. External is also very important, because that's a way that you can come to know as to what somebody else has been hit with, how he's been hit, what happened over there, what are the methods by which they took, and how much they could sort of reduce that risk by whatever action that was taken. And maybe they would have also discussed as to what they would have done ideally. So those are the things that comes about by external stakeholder understanding and things like that. Yeah.
Well, we definitely enjoy having this chat with you, Mr. Firoze Hussain. We come to the end of our chat. Perhaps last message from you for those who are just embarking on those in this career, just starting in this journey. Any final message, please?
Try swimming in the ocean and get out of the pond, because if you do that, you will become the winner finally, because that's what is about setting up scalable, global, and lean enterprises, which can take you can just become a market leader and quickly have a high growth rate and achieve a lot of customer attraction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Firoze Hussain. We enjoyed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.